Day. Consider that a public service announcement in case you forgot. We're playing QB Matchmaker, pairing quarterback-needy teams with their perfect offseason matches. Mike T has his arrows ready. He's going to play Cupid. Mike T, take it away. Start with the Miami Dolphins.
All right, here we go, Graz. Miami Dolphins. This one's super easy. Malik Willis, new head coach, new general manager, great duo from Green Bay. Malik Willis was there. He has really impressed me, Jeremy, with his opportunities. Presumably, they're going to move on from Tua. Jeff Hafley, Sully, they get their quarterback. I think this is an easy fit.
Mike, smart and insightful. I love it. Malik Willis. A lot of people around the league are pegging Miami to Willis. That seems to be a natural pairing. Jeff Hafley knows him well from their time in Green Bay together. The question is, what is he going to cost? Because it is a slow free agent market at the quarterback position. He seems to be in the pole position to get the most money. They got to do a deal that makes sense for both sides.
All right, next one is super easy. We're just going to dovetail this. We're going to take Arizona, and we're going to say Tua Tagovailoa is going to leave the Dolphins and go here. You think about Mike LaFleur, likes pocket passers. Look what they did in the Rams with Matt Stafford. Obviously, Tua isn't of that ability, but I think if they move on from Kyler Murray, Tua could come in, big cap number for the Dolphins in terms of about $100 million, but he could come in and stabilize that position for Mike LaFleur and the Cardinals.
Yeah, I low-key like it, Mike, because it seems like Arizona wants to go ahead with Mike LaFleur's quarterback choice to start new. They have Jacoby Brissett there, too. They could walk away from Murray and Brissett, start completely new. It's what's clearly a rebuilding situation. The question is, will Miami cover all of that $54 million, or at least most of it? That would make it more attractive to Arizona to take over that contract.
Sometimes Valentine's Day gifts are expensive, right? Okay,
no
Minnesota Vikings. I'll go on Kyler Murray. And when we think about potential Sam Darnold turnaround, uplifting an organization the way he did with Seattle, ironically, if he beats out J.J. McCarthy and has the year he could have, this is a Super Bowl roster, in my opinion. If they get B or B-plus quarterback play, I think it's really interesting how far they could go.
Yeah, Mike T, my sense right now after asking around is all the top quarterbacks that will be or could be available. Kyler Murray, Smith comes to mind. This is the place they want to go is Minnesota because of what you have with Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, a lot of pieces in place. So Murray would be an interesting fit there. They could sort of rebuild him. The Cardinals got to figure out exactly what they want to do and how they want to split up the money to facilitate that $37 million in guarantees that he is owed. If they can do that, I think they'll move on.
Okay, next one is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go with Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones is under contract. This would be a trade. But when you think about the success Kevin Stefanski ironically had with Kirk Cousins, play-action, drop-back quarterback, very similar style between Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins. Obviously, a lot of question marks about Michael Penix and his health. Mac Jones would come in along with a healthy Michael Penix, stabilize that position for Ian Cunningham, Kevin Stefanski, and Matt Ryan, who's now in charge. So I think this really fits up really nicely for the Falcons.
For sure. I love the fit. Question is, can they get him out of San Francisco? 49ers are saying they don't want to trade Mac Jones. They want him as their QB2, but if the deal is enticing enough to facilitate a trade, I could see it happen. Michael Penix says he'll be back week 1. I think that's an optimistic view. He's probably going to need a few more months.
All right, last one, Jets. We're going to go kind of 2 for 1 here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sign Kirk Cousins, and let me tell you why. We have Armand Membu, we got Olo Fashanu, we got Joe Tippmann. We have a really good offensive line that's going to be really important for Kirk Cousins, who's 38 with a bad Achilles. Once we have that with the 16th pick, we're going to draft Ty Simpson. And now what we can do, guys, is we can win for today with Kirk Cousins, at least be competitive, Jeremy, and then develop for tomorrow with Ty Simpson.
Yeah, they have the capital in the draft to do it with the 2nd and the 16th overall picks, and he's considered the 2nd best quarterback. Certainly they could make that happen, but you remember the musical chairs game? The Jets are probably going to be the last in the game at musical chairs to get whatever quarterback is left because the other guys want to go to some of these other destinations first. We'll see what the Jets can pull off.
All right, you guys got those 5 teams squared away, but the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to play the field. Pittsburgh's been searching for its perfect match at quarterback year after year, never quite finding the right fit, and now the wait continues as the Steelers, in a deja vu situation, are holding out to see if Aaron Rodgers will return next season. Pittsburgh's quarterback room has not been the same since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Pittsburgh quarterbacks have thrown just 72 touchdowns over the last 4 seasons. That ranks 29th in the NFL. Also bottom 10 in pass yards per game and yards per attempt. So Brooke Pryor, who covers the Steelers for us here at ESPN, what do you got on the quarterback situation for 2025?
Well, really feels like time is a flat circle, in Pittsburgh. Although I would like to quote Taylor Swift lyrics for you guys. It's a love story, baby, just say yes. And that's what the Steelers are hoping that Aaron Rodgers says, because the ball is in his court. Look, the Steelers would like Aaron Rodgers to come back. Mike McCarthy was clear about that. But this is up to Aaron Rodgers to decide. I don't get the sense that they will be as willing to make this as a prolonged decision as it was a year ago. But let's be honest, their options are just as kind of slim as they were this time a year ago. It's a thin quarterback class. They did draft Will Howard last year in the 6th round, and his development was part of Mike McCarthy's pitch to the Pittsburgh Steelers that, hey, this is a guy that Mike McCarthy believes in. He won the national championship at Ohio State. He did miss a lot of training camp with that freak injury, fractured pinky, so he didn't get a lot of development in camp or over the course of the season, but he is an option if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back. But look, the Steelers, I think, are in a position where they really hope that he comes back, and I came out of the Super Bowl with the sense that it feels more likely than not that he's going to return. But look, until Aaron Rodgers says yes, as Taylor Swift is saying, then nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, the good news is Aaron Rodgers felt rejuvenated by his time in Pittsburgh compared to his 2 years with the Jets, which were pretty rough. I was told from somebody close to him that he felt great coming out of there. He was close with his teammates. He loved working with Will Howard. Feels like he's helping develop him a little bit behind the scenes. So the vibes, so to speak, were good, and they're going to sort of hope for the best, but they have to wait this out. And I know they've done a lot of work on the 2026 draft with these quarterbacks in particular, thinking they could take their swing this year for a 2nd round. So I do think that's an option, whether Rodgers comes back or not.
I mean, how do you look? New head coach, a roster that needs work. It's not just plug in a quarterback and go, right? Like, how do you prioritize things?
And Graz, he's going to be 43
I'm
in
aware.
December. 43. And I'll tell you this, like, his best days are obviously behind him. And when you bring in a head coach who's in year 1, look, you got a perfect bridge quarterback in Mason Rudolph. Let's see what we have in Will Howard, and then go attack from there. So this one's bewildering to me. I would thank him for his services, see him in Canton in 5 years, and I would move on. This is a progress stopper. They're not going to win the Super Bowl with this roster, this offensive line. I think T.J. Watt's best days are behind him, like a lot of these other defensive players. Still good players, but maybe not elite. And to me, if I'm Pittsburgh, I don't see the benefit in bringing him back.
I mean, Mike, you're forgetting, though, Aaron Rodgers said that he feels like Benjamin Button the later it goes. So he might be 43, but maybe he's going to play like he's 21 again. Who's to say? One thing, though, that is interesting is that looking at the coaching staff that Mike McCarthy has assembled, Tom Arth is one of the guys that is a holdover. Mike McCarthy didn't keep many of the same guys that were employed by Mike Tomlin. Tom Arth is the quarterback's coach. I have to think that his presence, by the way, he was a quarterback in Green Bay briefly in the room with Aaron Rodgers. He also is helping in Will Howard's development. That's a huge plus for Will Howard and Aaron Rodgers. Also kept Scott McCurley, but if you look at the names on that board, a lot of them have familiarity with Mike McCarthy from Dallas, from Green Bay, and of course there's guys like Frank Cignetti Jr., Robert Kugler. They have ties to Pittsburgh, so it's a nice amalgamation of Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and Dallas, all in the Steelers coaching staff.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, but Mike McCarthy is a quarterback developer, along with a lot of those coaches you just mentioned, Brooke. Like, go get the next guy to develop, who's not 43.
So we'll continue to wait and see what happens in Pittsburgh and ponder why the Steelers aren't trying harder to get better. New on NFL Live from Adam Schefter. Nope, we're going to talk about that later. That's a tease. We have something live. We have a lot to get to today. Maxx Crosby of the Raiders not holding back. Raiders star edge rusher sounds off about his future. You do not want to miss what he had to say. Might want to get the kids out of the room, but you don't want to miss what he had to say. Plus, with Valentine's Day tomorrow, we're playing Matchmaker, pairing QB-needy teams with their perfect off-season matches. Some of these could be love at first snap. And speaking of QB-needy teams, how long are the Pittsburgh Steelers willing to wait on Aaron Rodgers this year? Brooke Pryor is here. She's going to tell us everything we need to know on what's going on in the Steel City. We've got a packed house and a packed show, and we start in Vegas, where Maxx Crosby's future is in question, and his latest comments did little to quiet those questions. Raiders star was asked about trade rumors on the Let's Go podcast, and he did not hold back.
I just want to play football and be left the fuck alone, period. And if people that don't understand that don't fucking know me. People can say whatever they want, but truly, I don't give a fuck besides playing football and winning football games. I give my whole life to this sport every single day. I'm here every morning. My alarm goes off at 4:55, and I am driving 35 minutes across town in an empty, dark building, doing the same thing every single day, trying to help my team, trying to help myself. People can talk all they want. People go on Twitter. I don't even see half of it is news to me. I just care about playing football.
So, yeah, I still don't get why he lives so far from the facility. But anyway, it's Friday on NFL Live. I'm Dan Graziano. We're here with Brooke Pryor, as I mentioned, Mike Tannenbaum, and Jeremy Fowler. And let's start there with Maxx Crosby. Mike T, what was your reaction when you heard what he had to say?
He's all ball. Apparently, he has a long commute, Dan.
He does. A lot of time to think about these things.
I would say this from a Raider perspective. This is a fairly complicated decision for a couple of reasons. First of all, you have a great player, 28 years old, clearly in his prime. And if they wanted to trade him, Giant, Spytek, Clint Kubiak, and others, there would be a massive market when you think about Dallas, Tampa, amongst many others. But he's also a great tone and culture setter, someone that could really help establish a program in year one. I would lean towards trading him because they're not going anywhere anyway, and they have a multitude of needs from O-line to corner to another receiver, amongst many other things. And since you're not going to win with him anyway, and if you could get multiple picks, a 1 and a 3, 2 2s, whatever it may be, I think, unfortunately, from a Raider perspective, you got to strongly consider that.
Crosby might live far away from the facility, but the Raiders have a lot of neighbors now. They got teams knocking on the door trying to get a deal done because there's going to be a lot of interest in Maxx Crosby, to the point where one team source told me that they believe the chances of Crosby coming back are pretty small because the Raiders are going to eventually weigh that they have a lot of team needs. They got to figure this out, and they could add them with draft capital that they desperately need, and he would require a lot to facilitate a trade. So a lot has to happen. They have not made a determination yet, but it seems like this is trending a certain way right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. He said a lot of stuff on the Let's Go podcast, but one thing he didn't say was, yes, I want to be a Raider.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to find out that. Brooke, as their custom is, the Raiders have a new head coach. And so Clint Kubiak, what would you say is the first order of business he needs to take care of?
Well, Mike T was just talking about how Maxx Crosby is a culture setter and a tone setter on defense. Clint Kubiak has got to find that guy on offense, and that could very well be in the draft this year in Fernando Mendoza. He's got to figure out the quarterback situation. That is priority number one. They still have Geno Smith on the roster. He is due, $26.5 million guaranteed this year. So it makes a lot of sense to keep him on the roster, especially if he is up for mentoring Fernando Mendoza. If he's not, though, and if he could hinder setting that culture, setting that tone, then perhaps you do trade him away or cut him, even though you would be eating a big cap. But the priority number one for Clint Kubiak has got to be figure out the quarterback situation. We just saw what he did with Sam Darnold. So he has a precedent of helping some of these quarterbacks make big strides. Perhaps you could do that with a rookie.
Yeah, Brooke, for me, this is easy. You draft Fernando Mendoza and you play Geno Smith. Last year, the sack per play rate for the Raiders was 12.4%, worst in the NFL. There is no way I am putting Fernando Mendoza out behind that line for much, if not all, of this year. We learned from David Carr a couple of decades ago what it did to him, amongst many others. We saw someone like Patrick Mahomes sit for all but one game his rookie year. Why are we in a rush to play Mendoza when the future is going to take a while to develop? So Geno Smith should be a stabilizing bridge quarterback. He's a good teammate, always has had that reputation. So to me, draft Mendoza, play Geno Smith, and build from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see what they do. When Ben Johnson was a first-year head coach last year in Chicago, first thing they did in free agency, 3 new offensive linemen. So maybe they could rebuild that on the fly a little bit in front of the rookie. We will find out. Another star player who could be on the move this offseason is Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown. Jeremy, what do you got on that?
Well, multiple executives that I've spoken to, Dan, believe that the Eagles will eventually entertain a trade for A.J. Brown. That has not happened yet. They have not set a firm course of action, but GM Howie Roseman is known as aggressive. It was pretty clear throughout the year that A.J. Brown had moments of unhappiness and frustration about 8 or 9 different times. Clear. So that's sort of on the table. They could rebuild with Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and maybe add a piece or two with those new draft picks they could get another receiver, maybe rebuild the O-line a little bit. So the Eagles have some options, but Brown's name is percolating this week for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was clear that the year did not go the way he wanted it to go. It did not go the way the Eagles wanted it to go. But A.J. Brown averaged the fewest yards per reception in any season of his NFL career. His yards per game and first downs were also his lowest since joining the Eagles. Worth noting, Brown was targeted more this year than he was last year in the Eagles' Super Bowl season but his catch percentage was down. So, Brooke, with Philly expected to entertain A.J. Brown trade conversations, what should that tell us about the Eagles' overall approach to this offseason?
Well, as Jeremy just said, the front office is incredibly aggressive. And when I spoke with a league source, they said nobody in Philly is off limits. And in Philly, everything is transactional. That means that, yeah, A.J. Brown absolutely on the table. Maybe they don't have a trade right now, but as you guys mentioned, he was unhappy. There is clearly frustration there on both sides. This offense could look a little bit different this coming year with the new offensive coordinator. Now's the time to get a fresh start, get some return from A.J. Brown. Both sides end up better off in the long run.
Yeah, Brooke, like the easy one for me would be A.J. Brown to Buffalo for the 26 picks that we talked about this morning. I think that's a win-win. And when you think about Philadelphia, they do have to address the offensive line. Landon Dickerson may retire. Lane Johnson is clearly close to the end. Chris Cooper, I think, is going to do a good job as the new O-line coach, but that's going to take some time as well. So if I'm Philly, I could get a 1 for A.J. Brown, who's 28, still in his prime. I think that's a way to rebuild on the fly. So, again, very good player, probably needs a change of scenery.
We'll see what happens in Philadelphia. Obviously, you mentioned it'll be a new offense, but they need a new offense. The offense was very disappointing last year in Philadelphia as they tried and failed to defend their Super Bowl title. Schefter, the NFL today informed all 32 teams in a memo that it has prevailed in its grievance against the NFLPA and its team report cards. Remember, the team report cards came out the last couple years and were made public. An arbitrator determined that the NFLPA's conduct violated the CBA and ordered it to stop making any future report cards public. So, Brooke, you've been all over this story since last November when the NFL filed this grievance. What more can you tell us?
The thing that I keep going back to is what Cam Hayward told me back in November, that to stop the report cards makes it feel like they're trying to hide something.
Sure does.
This is something that the players have been in favor of. They like the transparency. They like feeling like they can hold their employers accountable, saying, look, we need to have better work environments. And as Cam Jordan told our Kat Terrell back in November, that this comes down to trying to attract the best free agents, that when all things are equal with money and everything else, if you're trying to get the best guys in your building, you want to be able to compete with the rest of the league, saying, look at our facilities, look at our nutrition, look at our wait staff, our training. All of these things factor into why players want report cards, because some of them can point to things like the Chiefs, for example. Yes, they were winning Super Bowls, but they were really frustrated about the state of their locker rooms. Things like that felt like their facilities were really lagging behind. And when it came out that their grades were poor, look at that. The Chiefs went ahead and renovated the locker room. Also important to note, the report cards will continue. They will just not be published publicly. I spoke with the NFLPA. The plan is for the report cards, which they already conducted this season. They were going to be released publicly this spring. Instead, that information will be disseminated to the players and shared with the clubs. It just won't be presented in that snazzy online format that we all love to go through and read what everybody is saying anonymously about the teams.
Yeah, Brooke, that was one of the most creative things that the NFL Players Union did. I remember when they released it at the Super Bowl a few years ago, they were downright giddy about it. And the NFL saying that this feedback was not reliable or accurate enough, that they were just taking players on a whim. Well, they surveyed hundreds of players. I mean, to me, that's
thousands
good.
Even.
That's thousands. That's good reporting. So this was thorough. I think it helped a lot of players. It held teams accountable. The old guard had to change at least a little bit and got uncomfortable. So even though this is going away, at least publicly, I do think it will have a lasting change.
Look, organizationally, it's part of your responsibility. Like, you have to be a great listener. You know, exit interviews were so invaluable just to learn about, you know, the commute to the stadium or the food or this or that. So, look, at the end of the day, like, Brooke, you're making a great point. This is the ultimate meritocracy. You want to create a situation where people want to come for various reasons. Obviously, workplace is critically important. So, hopefully, like, this information's still accurate, it's actionable, it'll just be presented differently.
When the PA released these publicly the last couple of years, it kept saying, you know, this is not meant to embarrass teams into action, but it did have that effect in a couple of cases, and you wonder if it happens in secrecy, if it'll be less effective. We're going to talk again now about the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks and what a season for them, in particular their defense. They led the NFL in many things, including points per game, yards per pass attempt, and yards per rush. First time in franchise history that Seattle has led the NFL in all three of those things. But, as is often the case, Jeremy Fowler, they got some free agents to take care of. What can you tell us about this list and what their priorities are?
Yeah, let's start with Kenneth Walker. A tag could be in play, Dan, but maybe not necessarily the franchise tag. It could be the transition tag, which is a more palatable $11.7 million. That would give them the right of first refusal on that if another team makes a big offer. Franchise tag is a $14.5 million, which might be a little rich for the typical running back market, but both numbers respectable for a player who was going off in the playoffs in the Super Bowl and earned himself a lot of money. Could be the top running back, so they got work to do there. Rashid Shaheed, they are also going to press to keep him, I'm told, but they will have company. Watch for the Las Vegas Raiders on him. The natural connection is Clint Kubiak, but I was told the Raiders were really high on his speed well before they brought on Kubiak. So that's an option. So if he gets to free agency, it could be between Seattle and the Raiders, maybe even some others. With his elite speed, he's going to have a huge market, probably one of the top receivers. Hey, but they're going to try to keep him. They traded for him. They want him back. And you got Kobe Bryant on the left, Tariq Woolen on the right, two DBs who helped them win a Super Bowl. Kobe Bryant, there's a chance he comes back because they've already negotiated with him some. Last offseason, during the season, couldn't reach a deal. We're pretty far apart, but I expect them to try again. He will be one of the top 5 safeties or so most likely on the market, so that helps him. Tariq Woolen could be the odd man out here, largely because he'll price himself out. I mean, he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks. He's long, 4.3 speed. A lot of teams need that, a guy who can play press man and also showed in this defense he can play zone as well.
That's a great point on Shaheed and the Kubiak connection. Not only did he have him in Seattle this year, he had him in New Orleans the year before when he was offensive coordinator there. Mike T, what do you think their top priority should be?
Other ways to help Sam Darnold, and you look at the way this team was constructed. Kenneth Walker had 31 reception. Zach Charbonneau only had 20. And when we think about Sam Darnold's development, getting the ball out of his hands for easy completions, to me, has to be part of the discussion. I would love to have Kenneth Walker back. Jeremy, you make a great point. Transition tag seems like a very reasonable Band-Aid. But for this offense to take the next step, we got to remember Sam Darnold was good, not great during the regular season. I think trying to get him easy completions should be part of the next evolution of this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Charbonnet there. He may not be ready for the start of the 2026 season because of that ACL. To me, that makes keeping Kenneth Walker even more important. And I'm also going to look at Rashid Shaheed as someone that they have got to keep in that building. Obviously, the Kubiak connection, I can see how it would be enticing for him to go to Las Vegas. But talk about that speed, that game-changing ability, especially on special teams. We saw what a difference maker that was throughout the postseason. That's a guy that you don't let leave your building. So if I'm the Seahawks, I'm throwing a whole lot of money at him.
Multiple Seahawks players talked about that as a turning point in their season when they got Rashid Shaheed, and that really elevated their special teams. Not just free agents, they got some big-name extensions to look at, right?
Yeah.
They've drafted well.
Yes.
Jackson Smith and Jigba going to get a big deal?
Dan, as if they're not going to spend all this money we're talking about. You have Jackson Smith and Jigba. You also have Devin Witherspoon, the star corner. My sense is they're going to pay one of those before the new league year. We'll see if they can get it done. These markets will be massive. We're talking JSN might be $40 million a year because that's what the top receiver paid. Jamar Chase. Cornerback market has approached $30 million a year, but these are early deals they can do because they have the 4th year of the rookie deal and the 5th year option. You can spread that salary cap out, make the money a little more palatable.
Lots of work for the Seahawks to do once the hangovers wear off in Seattle, but they'll do it with a smile on their face. This year, Sam Darnold did what no other quarterback from his 2018 draft class has done. He lifted the Lombardi Trophy. Every NFL player dreams of hoisting the Lombardi Trophy one day, but what many of them don't realize is what will be staring back at them when they do. Their own reflection symbolizes more than that one shining moment. As Teddy Bruschi tells us, it's about their entire journey.
And the game is over. And the Lombardi Trophy is coming home. It is a dynasty.
I'd always had dreams of being on a championship team.
You're just too good to be true.
You kind of never know if you're ever going to get that opportunity, how hard it is, how rare it is.
Can't take my eyes off of you. Sight of you leaves me weak.
There's a few things in the world that are like that, getting married, having your kids, holding the Lombardi Trophy.
It was one of the greatest feelings that any football player could ever have. You're part of championship history.
Can't take my eyes off of you.
We shot the Lamb. I feel like Rocky right now.
When we beat the Rams, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know how to celebrate. All I could think to myself was, we did it. We actually did it.
Sometimes the underdog wins it all.
And then you pick up the Lombardi, And there in the trophy is a reflection of you and all your teammates. It's a moment I'll never forget.
Throughout the halls of Pittsburgh Steelers facilities, there are 5 trophies. And every now and again, I would go and I would just stare at them. So when I got the opportunity to be handed the Super Bowl trophy, the first thing I did was kiss that guy that was in that reflection.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have won the Super Bowl.
It wasn't something that I thought about. I didn't think about my reflection of myself on the trophy until I looked at it for the first time and I said, wow, this is everything.
The Lombardi trophy comes to you and your lips are quivering and the eyes are watering up. You see your reflection in there, and for the first time you get to say you're world champions.
And the game is over.
As the kick went through the uprights, it was chaos. I was looking for my mom, calling for my mom. Mom, where are you? Mama, we won!
It's like everything flashed before me, like we are here. This is it. We did it. Hold on. Like, for real, like, I was like, we did it. I see my reflection in it now and like, yeah. It was a grateful moment.
What a wonderful
Everyone works to be a champion, but in the back of my mind, I sometimes wondered if it would ever happen. There are so many moments that are just pure destiny.
Ben throws it back corner of the end zone. Santonio with a touchdown! I don't know how he did it!
It was surreal to know that my life is actually what I wanted it to be, was just be a champion at the end of the day, so that I would always be remembered.
That's a situation you think about your entire life. A 2-minute drive in the Super Bowl to go win.
Manning calling signals, takes the snap, looks left, lobs it left, Bruce is wide open, touchdown Giants!
You see reflection, but you see the team. You see what we were able to accomplish, and that bond that I'm gonna have forever with those teammates.
Who would have thought? God is good, ain't it? Great. I love you, bro. You too, man. We got a hell of a way. We serve. Love you.
You know, me and DT were brothers. I was always motivated, but I think it was his unfortunate passing that tipped the scale, you know, for me to just go even harder.
And the hay's in the barn! The Baltimore Ravens are Super Bowl champions!
I saw that little kid in Shrewsbury who was balling, that little kid who sat on that light box, you know, watching his big brother play football and waiting to get in the game. That was it. It's like, I didn't need anything else in my football life.
Hey, it's been a ride, huh? It's been a ride.
I think about Super Bowl 57. It's something that I use for motivation to this day, and it's the reason why I could have true happy feelings when looking at the Lombardi trophy, holding it up, and seeing my reflection.
12, they're bringing the trophy home.
To be the second black quarterback to win it, you know, a guy like Doug Williams who won, where everybody said I could never make it, you know, it's forever history.
When you become a champion, no one can ever take that away from you.
It's who you are as a teammate, as a player, as a person.
It's sacrifice.
It's changing a generation.
They said it couldn't be done. But here we are.
When we come back, there is new leadership in Pittsburgh. But does Aaron Rodgers fit into this new love story? Or will the Steelers get ghosted? Are they better off apart? Are you better off with Jeremy?
I'm going to have to use that.
Or apart from Jeremy?
Yeah, maybe.
I told you it was coming.
I think the wife will like that one.
Yeah.
Gonna be Jeremy
These
forever.
two are safe, though. It's not going to happen to them.
Thank goodness. Oh.
The music is great.